were being played on mainstream radio stations. I had connections in the very spheres I felt called to.
Oh,
I'd won
what am I doing?
supporters.
I'm just listening to this book, I Am Restored, read by the author himself, myself. Man, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. I'm excited, man. Tonight, it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna hang out. This is a live virtual signing. We're gonna talk. We're gonna answer questions, and I'm going to remind you constantly to go to Lecrae.com and make sure you order a book because you get the song "I Am Restored" with it, and you get a free ticket to the live experience on October 27th. So go to Lecrae.com and make sure you get it because this is your ticket. This is your ticket to the show. So I'm just telling you, that's how this works, okay? All right. So without further ado, I want to begin to answer some questions for y'all. Don't mind me. I'm in the studio knocking stuff over and, just enjoying not making music right now because we're focused on the book. So that being said, let's get into some of these questions. Is that okay? I know y'all gave me a lot of questions. So let's see what's going on out here, question-wise. So I'm gonna start from the top. I got my man Elliot out of New York. He asked, "What's the inspiration behind the book?" So the inspiration behind the book is just that I am restored. I went through my own personal journey of restoration, and first of all, restoration is a journey, not a destination. So I want to make sure everybody knows that restoration is the kind of understanding that, hey, regardless of what I'm dealing with or where I'm at right now, God can change this. God can turn this around. And that's a process. So it's not like, and I made it. It's realistically saying God got me out of Egypt, but now I'm on this journey to the promised land. And so it's just facing the reality that you're on your way out. And so the inspiration for me was realizing that, man, I didn't have to live in Egypt anymore. That God was liberating me and giving me the opportunity to start a new life and a new future. And I wanted other people to find that freedom and find that restoration. So that's what made me write it. Who are from Brenda in Singapore? Shout out to Brenda in Singapore. I've never been to Singapore. I really want to go. Brenda, hook it up. What I'm saying? Hook it up. I'll fly out there, hook up the tour. You know what I mean? The food, all the good stuff. I'm there. All right. Who are my favorite thought leaders in this generation? That's a great question. My favorite thought leaders. I really love my brother Vincent Bantu. He's been very, very helpful for me in this time period and just his perspective. Esau McCauley, Priscilla Shire, Dr. Christina Edmondson, Marty Solomon, Tim Keller. Man, there's so many people. BJ Thompson. And so the list goes on and on. Hope you wrote those names down. But there's quite a few of them. Tyler Burns, Jamar Tisby. Those are a couple of great thought leaders that I love. Let's see here. We got Alex from Jersey. Will there be another online concert soon? If so, I will totally buy VIP. Guess what? It's Alexi, my bad. You are in luck, or you are fortunate, you are blessed, because October 27th is a live experience with music, a conversation. We're going to talk about the book. We're going to talk about real life. We're going to do some music. I'm not going to be the only person doing music. I'm going to also have some special guests. How can you get in, you ask? Great question. Here's your ticket. All you got to do is go to Lecrae.com, buy this book, and you're in there. VIP status, baby. Let's go. But yeah, make sure you show up. I'll see y'all there. Brianna Sterling from Illinois asks, what was the pivotal moment when you realized you needed to turn back to God and let him restore you? Ooh, that's a good question. So the funny thing about that, Brianna, is for a lot of people who don't know, I was just in a really dark place. You know, as you read through the book, you'll see how I got there. And when you're in that dark place, you really begin to believe the lies in your own head that tell you that there's no hope for you, that there's no way you can get around this, there's no way you can get through this. And you just spiral downward and you start thinking about all the negative things. And you really start believing the lie that you're stuck. And, when I believed I was stuck, I think that's when I said, I don't know how I'm going to get out, and I don't know if there is a God, and if there is a God, where's he at? But when you spiral so far out of control that you can't fix yourself and there's nobody else who can fix you, man, that faith kicks in real quick. You know what I mean? There's a saying that you never know Jesus is all you need until Jesus is all you have. And that's the space that I was in when I realized, man, I really have nowhere else to go. And man, he was just faithful. He was faithful to hold my hand and walk me through that process and start restoring me. Johannes from Maryland asks, what would I say is my favorite avenue to express myself? Well, being that I am an author and I'm an artist as well. You know what's funny, man? I think I like, I don't know. I just like any avenue. I think the thing is I just like expressing myself. That's really what it is. It's like just being able to have a voice. So if it's a podcast, if it's a book, if it's a song, it's awesome for me because I get to express myself. It's probably like somebody who likes to run. So whether they're running on a track meet or running on a football field, they just love running. So I don't know if there's a favorite for me. Denicia from Choctaw, Oklahoma. Shout out to Choctaw, Oklahoma. Never been there. Hopefully I get there one day. What was my favorite part about writing a book? My favorite part about writing the book was probably being done with it. I mean, just being honest with you, just seeing it come to fruition. It's like, wow, it's done. And what my favorite part is seeing people's response. Like when people say, man, this freed me. Like I'm already seeing people say like, oh my gosh, I needed chapter 3. You know, I'm like, wow, the book just came out. You know, and they're saying how liberating and freeing that is. And that's exciting for me because I want to know that people's lives are being transformed by reading a book. And so I'm going to continue to do some life transformational things on October 27th. If you're just tuning in, go to Lecrae.com, get this book, okay? If you don't have it, if you do have it, awesome. You got your VIP ticket already. Your ticket in, you get the song I'm Restored with it, and you get to come to the live experience with myself and some special guests. But outside of that, let's keep going. It says, out of the generations of albums, i.e. sophomore, junior, aka that's come out of Reach Records, which era has been your favorite or most memorable to experience? Ooh. Probably I would say around 2012 to 2014 is probably my favorite. Just because I felt like, man, you know, everybody was hitting on all cylinders. We were not as busy. We didn't have as many kids. We had to man and take care of. And so it was just, you know, it was just a sweeter time. It's just kind of like when you're in college and then you graduate, you got to go to work. So, you know, that's tough sometimes. And so, let's see here. That was my favorite time, just FYI. So Joshua asks, how can we as believers be instruments of unity in today's world that loves to thrive on division and hate? That's a great question, Joshua. I always tell this story. I talk about, I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan. It's tough for us right now. It's really, really rough. My heart is broken. But we're going to pull through this. The team needs a little restoration, and that's what's going to happen. But you got Matt Ryan, you got Julio Jones. One of them's from the East Coast, one of them's from the South. One of them likes to fish, one of them likes to golf. And if you didn't know, one is black, one is white. Blew you away right there, didn't I? But the funny thing about it is the reason why there can be unity between them is because they recognize that they need each other, right? They cannot accomplish the job that they were put on earth to accomplish unless they rely on one another. And I think that's the problem for a lot of us as believers today is we're not relying on each other. A global faith is a faith that understands that, hey, I need my Indian brothers and sisters. I need my African brothers and sisters. I need my Asian brothers and sisters. Because if I don't have them, I don't get the full expression of God and God's faith. He's put his stamp on all of us. And so for us to have unity, we got to need each other. And we've also got to listen to each other. The Bible says we're a body. And a body is closer than a community. So when my arm is hurting, I don't say, you know, people tend to say when I have a broken arm, oh, Lecrae's hurt. They don't say his arm is hurt. Say might, but generally they say Lecrae's hurt. Or we'll say, why is Dak Prescott not playing? Dak got hurt. the part of him that got hurt is connected to him. And so similarly, us as a body, when a part of us is hurt, we all should feel it. So if one community of believers is hurt, it should affect us all. And I think we'll find unity when we care about each other, when we listen to each other, and we realize that we need each other. So how do you choose to see? Oh, this is from Chris in Fort Collins, Colorado. What's up, Colorado? Shout out to Chris. How do you choose to seek God in the midst of trials and difficult times? That's a good question, man. Man, sometimes it's hard. I'm just be honest with you. Sometimes you just don't want to seek God in the midst of trials and difficult times. It's a muscle, right? It's a muscle you got to work out. So sometimes you're doing good and you work that muscle out and you know, man, I'm going through it, but I have a regular devotional time that I have all the time, and I'm gonna lean into that, and I know I'll grow and God will do some work in me. Sometimes you haven't been as consistent as you like to be, and you just are lazy or you're just distant. And what I say to people is just throw yourselves on the train tracks of God's grace. Just say, listen, I don't even know what to do, but I'm going to listen to sermons. I'm going to read the Bible. I'm going to talk to my friends. I'm going to go to church. I don't even know what's going to affect me. I'm just throwing myself on the train tracks. And God is pretty consistent and faithful, and he's going to smack you one of those particular ways. He's going to run over you, and with the grace and love and truth, if you just lay yourself on the train tracks of his goodness and his mercy in one of those aspects. So even if you don't know how to do it, just lay on the tracks of his goodness, man. Isaiah Pixley out of Cali, he says, "What's up, Lecrae? My name is Isaiah, and I wanted to ask you, how do you respond to others that feel like God doesn't care about them? I mean, how do you acknowledge your blessings more than your struggles?" Let me tell you something, Isaiah. I don't always know how to respond to people when they feel like God doesn't care about them, right? It's kind of like being in a relationship with people. Everyone's different. So there's not one response. There's not all, and you may not always have the right answer, but I think the important thing is to be with them, to be present with them. Sometimes it's not about fixing them, it's about facing them. And your consistency and your love is actually the demonstration that God cares about them, right? Because you are the manifestation of that. And so you being there for them, walking with them through their pain is a picture of what God does. I know when I was going through a lot of the crazy stuff that I was going through in this particular book that I wrote called I Am Restored, that you can find at Lecrae.com. You can also get a free ticket to the concert if you get the book today. Anyway, when I was going through my storm, my wife was that picture of God's consistency. She was just present. She didn't always have the right answer. She didn't know what to say. But she was just solid as a rock. She was there. And so I think a lot of times that's how you can show people that God is working with them and walking with them in the process. I guess I can answer a gazillion questions. I don't know. I want to sign some books too. And, I want to read a little bit of the book if that's okay with y'all. Can I do a little bit of that? Is that cool? All right. So, first and foremost, I'm signing books. So the reason why I'm signing books is because they're going to be available, right? They're going to be available for y'all. So I'm signing them now and I'm making them available for y'all. So I'm excited for y'all. And what I need y'all to do is I need y'all to go to Lecrae.com because this book is actually your ticket to the live event on October 27th. If I haven't said that, I'm saying it now. Get the book. It's a free ticket. Why would you not want a free ticket to a live event? It's free. Special guests. It's going to be lit. It's going to be great. And we're going to have a great conversation. And I'm going to answer some of y'all's questions there as well. So you can get raw. You can get real. You can ask whatever you want to ask. You can ask me what size shoe I wear, and I'll tell you. You can ask if you can have my shoes, and I'll say absolutely not. But I'm going to answer anyway. So, but that being said, man, I'm gonna scribble in some of these books. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm gonna read some of it if that's cool with y'all. I'm gonna read a little bit of the book. It's like bedtime stories with Cray. Uncle Cray, Mr. Rogers. I'm gonna come in, take my shoes off. Well, won't you be my neighbor? How you doing, neighbors? Would you like to read a little bit of this book today? Well, let's do that, shall we? That's awesome. I'd like to read some of this book to you. How about I sign one more, and then we get to reading? Can I read to y'all like I would read to my third grader? Is that cool? Let's find something to read. Here we are. I'm going to read to you from chapter 8. Unashamed in the light. I was wounded Matter of fact, I was broken. Drowning in the chaos of my own making, I spent years ignoring my own trauma, medicated through the pain, and was addicted to the pleasures of life. And now that had come back to bite me. I knew that I was drowning, but I was finally willing to acknowledge where I was. See, when you realize that you're wounded, life has to change. An athlete can deny a nagging injury for only so long. Eventually, a reckoning is coming, and ignoring the pain only makes it more painful. I was ready for change. Ready for restoration and healing, just on my own terms. The part of change that offends us most is having to be willing to drastically shift our life's focus. Got to face that chaos, y'all. But even if we're afraid, we have to adjust our ways of thinking and living to find where we're supposed to be. Because if we're too attached to who we were, we'll always be afraid to be the person that God has called us to be. And this painful season of life started slowly shaping me into something new. The problem is, I didn't know what new should or could be because of the blinding nature of my pain. I couldn't see what the next season would look like. Earlier this year, every sports fan was glued to the television to watch The Last Dance, featuring Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time. LeBron James is awesome. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Just had to throw that in there. The documentary followed Michael Jordan as he played his chaotic last season with the Chicago Bulls. Considering our national circumstances, we all were starved for a mix of sports nostalgia and original entertainment. And come on, who doesn't love watching MJ play basketball? The show was fascinating, and I learned things I could never have guessed, including the sacrifices that come with the pursuit of excellence at the highest levels. I was most captivated by how Jordan is navigating retirement. We all love watching athletes at the highest level dazzle us with their ability on the field and the court. They give us everything, and many of them are fortunate enough to make millions of dollars in their careers. Some of my friends are professional athletes, and when I see the attention they get, I'm jealous. Just joking. I realize it's on a different level. Everywhere they go, Steph Curry, they get mobbed by fans. For some athletes, that type of attention becomes part or even all of their identity. I'm not saying that's you, Steph. I'm just saying some athletes. It consumes them. They're drenched in the spotlight and eventually drowned by it. Every tweet and post is microanalyzed and critiqued for good or for bad. But what happens when their career is over? What happens when they retire, or worse, are forced to retire due to injury or failure to play at a high level? They can find themselves asking, who am I? What can I contribute to the world that doesn't revolve around my physical ability or the amount of fans I can draw to the stadium? Their identity is so bound up with their fans, they don't even know how to be anyone else. Well, what I'm diving into in this part of the book is that sometimes we find our identity in what we do. And that's what makes it harder for us to find restoration, is because what we do has defined us for so long that we feel disoriented. What if I now have a mental illness or debilitating struggle? Does that make me less of a person? What if I get laid off my job? Does that make me less of a person? What if someone, if my spouse chose to leave me, am I less of a person? Is my identity somehow tainted? And I want you to know that's not the case. I want you to know that this is a bad chapter in your life, but it's not the end of the book. The end of the book is restoration. And so I want that for you. But you got to keep reading to get to the end of the book. Literally keep reading, but then also keep reading in terms of keep journeying through life, man. Keep journeying on the journey of restoration. And so just a sample chapter. You can get the whole book, okay, Lecrae.com, which also acts as a ticket for you to get into the live experience on October 27th, featuring special guests. And you get the song, I'm Restored. Everybody loves the song. The video is actually featuring my kids, if you didn't catch that when you watched it. But yeah, you get that there. We got some more time left, so I'm going to answer a few more questions if that's okay with y'all. Y'all cool with that? Y'all cool? Okay, cool. All right, cool. Let's see what we got here. Ooh. You know how some people say, this is from Victoria from Orangeville, California. You know how some people say you can read the Bible over and over again and learn something you never saw before. Is there a Bible story you read when you were younger, maybe, that you've read now and realized something God never showed you before? Does that make sense? Haha. Love you. You have 7 U's at the end of your love you. So I just had to. Yes, that actually does make sense. I'll tell you what's funny is I'll tell you a specific story. Is one that we all know, David and Goliath, right? And I heard the story a gazillion times, a quadrillion times, and always looked at it as if, you know, in some kind of way, figuratively, I am David and the enemy is Goliath, and I've got to go in there and say, you know what, you uncircumcised Philistine, yeah, and chop off Goliath's head, and God is with me the whole time. And that's kind of how I interpreted it, is, you know, you just kind of see yourself as David. But let me tell you something. What happened in that story is that David's this kid, this teenager, and Israel's at war with the Philistines. And the Philistines at the time, they have actual like metal weapons. The Israelites probably didn't have metal weapons. A few people had swords, but like in general, they just didn't have enough metal weapons to go around. So they were looking like it was going to be all bad. So they're afraid. And then they had this whole thing where they were like, hey, we have a champion. Our champion will come out and face your champion. And then, hey, that's who will ultimately win this thing. And they knew their champion was a monster, Goliath. So David is like going to talk, he's delivering, you know, meals on wheels to the soldiers there, to Israel. And they're like, man, we're all paranoid, we're scared because this guy Goliath is down and he's a monster. He's like, you know, huge and towering over everybody. And so they're all trembling, they're shaking, they don't know what to do. And David's like, are y'all serious? I got this. And he goes out there and he goes and takes on Goliath. So the truth of the matter is that Goliath actually does represent the powers of darkness and evil, but we're not David. We are actually Israel, shaking in our boots, scared with these insufficient weapons and can't get the job done. And David is a type of Christ. He's a picture of Jesus stepping in with, you know, insignificant means to get the job done, but he does what we couldn't do. We're afraid. We can't take on the enemy and the powers of darkness. And Jesus steps in and says, I got this. I'll take on the powers of darkness and win. And, you know, the irony is he chops off his head. It talks about in Genesis 3 that the serpent will bite the heel of the Savior, but he will crush the head of the serpent. And I think it's, fitting. It's just great literary device to have Goliath's head be chopped off. Sorry for being so graphic if any kids are watching. It's in the Bible, though. And it's just a picture of Jesus coming to save us. So we're not David. We're Israel. We need a David. And Jesus is our David. So that's one of the Bible stories that rocked me. Anyway. All right. Moving on. Victoria from Florida says, what would I like my legacy to be? That's a good question. Honestly, Victoria, man, I'm getting to this point in my life where, I just want to be known for being the person that I know God has called me to be. Not looking like that person, not acting like that person, not doing the things that person would do, but actually being that person. So we can all look the part, we can all play the part, but man, you don't get credit for that. You get credit for being a part. So I don't want to just wear the jersey. I want to get out there and be on the field as a contributing member of the team. And so, let's see what else we got here. Ooh, I like this. Neil from South Kakalaki says, what drives you every day in ministry to avoid the burnouts? That's a great question. Tension, baby, tension. That's what you have to navigate is tension. There's no such thing as balance. If you're looking for balance, you need to go to heaven because that's where it exists, okay? You need to go onto the new earth because there's no balance here. Balance is the idea that everything is perfect. Look at that. We got it all perfect. Kids, work, look at this. Doesn't exist. It's utopia. It's no place. Tension is what you're after. And so a healthy tension is learning how to wrestle with the tension. Tension is when you realize, hey, this is getting a little too tight. And so you release it, right? And that's how you avoid burnout is you say, I'm stretched a little too tight here. And so I need to release some tension. I'm doing too much in one particular area of life and it's causing some strain and some stress. And so I need to let that go. And there's another area where it's getting too loose and I need to pull it a little bit tighter, right? And so just keeping all those balls in the air, family, work, ministry, you're not Jesus. So and if you were, even he took a break. Even he was like, hey, yo, I gotta go take a break real quick. I gotta get some time with my father. So I'm gonna get back to y'all a little bit later on. They couldn't find him. He was on a boat chilling. It's in the Bible. You gotta check it out. Anyway, only got time for a few more questions. Before I do that, I want you to know this book right here is your ticket to the experience on October 27th. If you get the book, Lecrae.com gets you the book, gets you the ticket, gets you the bonus song, I'm Restored, as well. We're going to have a good time, you know what I mean? So make sure you go there and get that, all right? As we keep diving into some of these questions. I know some of y'all are like, please let me answer me. Get to my question. I'm going to read this because I don't even know. I can't even pronounce. I know your name. Your name is Isaac, but you're from Loganholme, Queensland. Did I get that right? I hope I got that right. I just wanted to ask your question because you're from Queensland. You wrote all the way from Queensland, so you deserve. I don't care what you're asking, but you deserve an answer. What you asked is, what's one thing I wish I had done differently growing up? Oh, that's a good question. What's one thing I wish I'd done differently growing up, man? So many things. When you get, honestly, I wish I would have slowed down a little bit. I was moving so fast. I don't remember being in like 19, 20, 21, 22 and asking a lot of questions to older people. I don't remember like saying, hey, what is life about? Or what's something to say? Well, give me some advice on this. I just didn't ask a lot of questions. I was just moving a million miles an hour and just not appreciating wisdom. You know what I mean? And so even now, it's like I got to pause and go ask the grandpas and the grandmas for some information and just talk to me. Tell me something that I don't know. So that's one thing I wish I had done differently when I was growing up, is ask more questions. All right. Jamie from Fairmont, Minnesota asks, how hard do you find it to maintain your beliefs in the music industry that tells you to do the opposite? I get that question every so often. Like people are like, how do you maintain your beliefs in the music industry that's going another way? And honestly, it's really about what your convictions are. Like, what is your ambition? Why are you there? If you don't know why you're there, they'll give you another reason to be there. And here's what I didn't do right. I can tell you this is, man, I wasn't as afraid as I should have been, right? Like I was a little overconfident that, navigating that space was not going to be filled with attacks on my soul and on my life. And so if I knew better, I would have taken that a lot more seriously. I probably would have said, hey, to all my friends, like, hey, you guys, this is what's going on, where I'm going, and probably brought them with me everywhere. You know what I mean? Just because it's just always healthy to have good people around you who can navigate and see stuff. You need another set of eyes who are looking at stuff from a different perspective. But yeah, you gotta, man, I mean, evil is the second most intelligent force in the universe, right? Good is the most, and God is good. So, so just not underestimating evil, the evil that lives out there and the evil in our own heart. So, I'm gonna answer a few more. I know our time is running out, but I'm gonna answer a few more questions. The thing, listen, it's something I really gotta say though. All right, I'm just be honest with y'all, because I know we live and everything, and this is gonna be a little crazy, but I'm gonna just say it, and I may lose everything for this, but October 27th is a live event, and this is the way you get into that event, okay? Go to Lecrae.com, you get the ticket, you get the song, you get the book. They're gonna shut me down for saying this, but you can get in free if you get the book, all right? So that's all I'm gonna say, all right? October 27th, make sure you go to Lecrae.com. I know, I said it. Fire me, sue me. Anyway, Jennifer from Athens, Alabama says, why the transparency now? Ooh. You know what's funny about text, or when you read stuff, you don't know the tone. So part of me is reading it like, why the transparency now? And then there's another part that's like, why the transparency now? But I don't hear it that way. Like she could just be like, man, wow, you're really transparent. What made you do that now, of all times? But I'm hearing it like, why the transparency now? And so I'm like, okay, let me try to just answer this without assuming that Jennifer, spelled Jann, Jennifer, okay? Jennifer, I'm assuming that she's writing this in the sweetest tone. I'm believe the best, like First Corinthians tells me to. I was transparent now because I was honestly, I felt like God just pushed me in a corner and said, "You're gonna feed my sheep, and and you're going to, you're going to sacrifice this stuff in order, in order that other people can be healthy and be healed." And so I've said a lot of things before, but I've never been to therapy. So this book is the result of years of therapy and a different appreciation of transparency and openness that allows me to say, hey, it healed me to dig into my life and dig into my past and to be honest. And so I'm going to do that now. And also because, people need it. This is tough out here. So that's why the transparency now, Jennifer. I'm sure you meant that in the sweetest way, Jennifer. I'm sorry. A couple more questions, man. What's one thing, this is from Isaac in Morristown, Tennessee. What's one thing that's helped me grow or shaped me in the process of restoration that stuck with me since the beginning of my career? Sheesh. You know what? I'll tell you one thing. If somebody told me this, and as you read this book, you're going to see me talk about all types of folks. You're going to see me talk about different denominations and church backgrounds and ethnicities. And it's all love. There's no hate, right? There's something to learn from every place and everyone that I've learned from. It's just to say that at times in my life, I was overly consumed with one particular space in our global faith. But I picked up a lot of things. And one of the things I picked up was to always be faithful, available, and teachable. And always invest in individuals like that as well. So just be faithful. Be faithful to God, faithful to your family, faithful to the call that you have in your life. Be available, right? When it's time to do what you've been called to do, be available, right? And be teachable. Never think you have it all together and that you have it all figured out. So that's one thing I learned that stuck with me from the get-go. And so I'm going to answer two more questions. But before I answer those two more questions, guess what? Commercial break. October 27th, you too can be a part of the live experience. All you have to do is purchase this book and you get a free ticket and you get to check myself out and my special guest who will also be there as well performing. So make sure you get your ticket. Actually, you don't need a ticket. You can go for free. All you gotta do is get the book and you get a free song. Song, ticket, book, experience, and you get to see me and perform. It's gonna be crazy. All right. So, all right, a couple more questions. Let's see. Whitney from Hendersonville, North Carolina says, it's not a question, but a simple thank you for this book. Oh, wow. Saw the video, felt called to read it. Thank you, Whitney. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Matthew from Live Oak, Texas. We got a Texan in the building. What area in your life have you seen the most growth or maturity since your first album to now? Oh, man. My goodness. Most mature. You know what? I know myself better than I ever did. First album, I just didn't even know who I was. I thought I did, but I didn't. And I've done so much intense work. I'm just comfortable in my own skin. You know what I mean? Like, just comfortable. Just comfortable in my own skin, my own chocolate skin. I just am so comfortable in it. Comfortable in my chocolate southern skin. I like fried chicken, collard greens, cornbread. Comfortable, man. Just comfortable. No need to deny it, okay? It calls me. It talks to me. Fried chicken says, Lecrae, where you at? Come home. And I'm okay with that. Don't judge me. I'm not judging you. Don't judge me, okay? So that's all I'm going to say about that. Last question. All right, let's go. What's it going to be? It's got to be a good one. Let me tell you what's not going to be the last question. How did you decide on what outfit you're going to wear on the cover of your book? That's not going to be the last question. But I'm going to tell you, shout out to my man Torino, who styled me, and Jerry Lorenzo, who's provided the clothing that I'm wearing. Fear of God, another believer in the fashion world, and Torino, another believer in the styling world. And they got style, they got flavor. They put it together. All right, last question for real. Samantha. I'm assuming this is not from Samantha, but her husband is using her account or something, because the question is, how can I, as a black man, Not saying that Samantha cannot be the name of a black man, because it could be. But I don't think it is, but it might be, because it's from Simpsonville, South Carolina, and there may be a man named Samantha walking around Simpsonville, and I'm sure if that's the case, I apologize. But how can I, as a black man, continue to make a difference, especially living in the South and feeling especially out of place in the church that I attend and volunteer at? Oh, that's such a good question. You need this book. You need this book. Man, let me tell you. First of all, when you say a black man, I want you to understand something. I want you to understand that your ethnicity, not your color, because your color's your color, right? Your ethnicity is something that God gave you, right? It's a gift from God. Embrace it. Don't run from it. It's who you are. It's who God made you to be. And it's who God, all of our ethnicities, God gave us that. So don't run from that. Don't hide that. Don't put a light over. Don't put a shade over that. Be who you are. Your culture, the cultural places that you came from, experience you came from, that's how you've been shaped. Now, some of that culture, you're going to have to run it through the scriptures to make sure that you're not holding on to things that are not, that God doesn't care about holding on to. You know, the Romans, the Galatians, the Ephesians, they all had to let go of some stuff in order to follow Jesus. As long as it ain't sinful, you good. So hold on to your ethnicity and aspects of your culture that are okay, and don't feel ashamed from them and don't dim them. And so if you feel out of place, it should not be because you're, it should be only because someone's making you feel that way. It shouldn't be because internally you're ashamed of who you are and who God has made you to be. Now, if somebody's making you feel that way, that's a different conversation, and that's a conversation you need to have with them, you know, and if they're not open to that dialogue, then maybe that's not the place for you. But if these are people who love you, the full you and all of you, your chocolate, Southern fried chicken, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, cornbread eating self, who watches Martin on the weekends, on the reruns, be you. Be you. And if they love that aspect of you, they all right. If they don't like that aspect of you, well, then we got to have a conversation. If you're in Sunday service and you got your hands up high, you're like, glory, hallelujah. And everyone's looking at you like, oh my God. Hey, you tell them, look, this is how God wired me. This is how God made me. You either love me or leave me. You got to choose. But the Bible says you got to love me, because if you leave me, you're wrong. So I'm just saying, be you, man. Be who God created you to be. As long as there's nothing wrong with that, sinfully wise, man, let people embrace the you for who you are. I am restored, y'all. I love y'all to death. Make sure you grab your copy autographed. You can get them. Go to Lecrae.com. You know what I mean? And make sure you get your ticket. This is your ticket. I mean, you get a free ticket if you get the book. It's just free. All you got to do is, if you already bought the book, you got a free ticket. So what are we doing? Go to Lecrae.com. Get yourself an event, October 27th. It's going to be me, and it's going to be lit. All right? Much love to y'all. God bless y'all.